I'm going to use my start date as June 17th because
Okay.
that's close. I don't think that's technically when I was licensed. I think I got licensed roundabout there. I just know that's when I quit Amazon and started working at Keller Williams. I think I got licensed right around there. So from that point to the end of the year, I got 11 closings
Whoa.
or so.
Awesome, Zach. Well, it's great. Thanks for joining me. It's good to have you on here.
It's good to be here, man. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah, so I wanted to introduce you to everyone. This is my friend Zach Willoughby. We met a little over a year ago at a investor happy hour meetup.
Yeah.
Zach is a buyer's agent at Keller Williams. You've gotten your license since I met you, and you've been doing very, very well. So I've heard. Um,
They tell me that too. I'm trying.
yeah, so I really wanted to have you on here, and I just wanted to hear your story a little bit and hear about what you do, hear about your business, and I just want you to talk about whatever you want.
Sure. That's
Um,
it's a
so
dangerous request. I mean, if you let me loose, we'll be here forever. Just talking. I mean, we
yeah,
cut
for
up, and our
sure.
phone calls last a long while, and I'm happy with it.
Oh, I
But
know you're very easy to talk to. We get along. We get along.
we do, we do. I cannot believe it's over a year ago that we met.
I know,
That's
right? It doesn't seem
that,
like
that
it.
No, well, and time just seems to move faster, and that's something that old people always told me, and now I've started saying it enough. I'm like, oh no, what happened? Uh, um, but yeah, no, it's been a crazy year and a bit, man. Because I
Yeah.
remember when I met you guys, it was at State of Confusion, I think.
Yep.
That was the first real estate investor meetup I had ever gone to. And y'all were the first people I met, other than the one who had set up the entire meeting.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Here's some people." I was like, "Hi,
Hey, hey
I
guy.
don't know, I don't know what I'm doing."
Yeah.
I think you had just completed your first wholesale, and I was all like bug-eyed, like, "What was that like? What
Oh, yeah.
happened? Whoa, yeah, oh man, yeah." So I guess at that time when I had first met you, um, I had started kind of this realization that I have a passion for financial freedom, and for me, it's it's not actually just Zach focused. There's like the way I grew up. We lived on what's called support, and it's not like government support. It was, we were working in the church in one way or another, and my parents had to raise support, that sort of thing. And so I was surrounded by people who had no clue what financial freedom was. No matter what walk of life they came from, I like that was just what I was surrounded with. And we were always we had the monthly passes on the struggle bus a little bit. Not even like a super negative way, right? It was just kind of life.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I think that most people start with this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. For some reason, it changes everybody's life, and you just shoot off like a rocket, reading book after book after book like it.
Yeah.
So naturally, I'm like, oh wow, that's a really good book. Like I thought it was probably hokey or a hoax or fake or something before reading it, but then I actually sat down and read it. I was like, shoot, well, I'm gonna go ahead and change my life then.
It changed
So
your
at
life?
the
Rich Dad, Poor
It
Dad?
did.
Yeah.
It really did. And it's funny because I feel like you could have put it on a pamphlet and gotten the gold nuggets out of it, but it was a couple hundred pages, and it was still worth it. You have to hear the same thing 7 times to learn it. That's what marketing
You do.
says anyway.
You do.
So,
And I
and I
think
think
there's
that
something
really
in
helped it.
the commitment of reading it and the story that he was telling in the book
Yeah.
that drove it home, You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
I agree. I think that there was about 3 or 4 times when I was reading the book where I was like, come on, man, you've said that 7 different ways. But I think that that's right. I think that's why, it's because it's in a narrative. It's because it's, repetitiveness is just part of learning.
yeah.
So, Not to bash the book at all. Like I said, it changed my life. But yeah, so and for me, I think that I started to want to grow in financial freedom for the sake of myself, but also for the sake of others who I know are doing things that I firmly believe in one way or another, whether it's, digging wells, helping orphanages, whatever, A to Z. There's just too many people that I know that are still stuck in that financial boat where they can't do anything. Like they want to, my gosh, do they want to, but they don't have that option because of their sacrificial lifestyle. And so for me, I started concocting this plan of, okay, well, what is the most surefire way of continual cash flow? Because that's one of the biggest things that Kiyosaki talks about, right? He's like, cash flow is king. You've got to figure out not just what will work for today, but hey, what's going to work for the long term, because you can't rely on somebody else for your retirement. So I started
Yep.
looking into real estate. And honestly, I've I've had a lot of random jobs in my life. Um, I worked at a kids camp growing up. I was at a movie theater. I worked at Amazon for way too long, and I've never had a career, so I didn't really have a skill set. I'm great with people, but I've never really had a skill set. There was one time when I accidentally became a property manager, but that's the closest I've come to real estate before this. It was a really funny story. They were like, "You're gonna work in the kitchen." I'm like, "Yeah, I am." I show up. They're like, "By the way, you're looking after the whole property, the sheep, the cows, the students. You're a
Yeah.
property manager." And I was like,
Okay.
"Somebody, this is terrible. This is a terrible idea." But it went well. Um, anyway, I guess after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, this plan I was concocting was, hey, how can I get that cash flow? And to be honest, I don't understand stocks, and I tried for a little while, and it's not my thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think that I have so many friends who are geniuses at that and love learning that. I'm just like, I've got to be involved with people. I'm
Yeah.
not great with just straight numbers. I'm really not. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that I'm dumb, because I'm not. I mean, I
Yeah.
know I'm smart, but it's just not I couldn't click quite with
Yeah.
that. But real estate, I started being like, whoa, I could actually make connections with people, whether it's buyers, sellers, agents, renters, wholesalers, whatever. And I was like, ooh, networking I'm good at. Networking I love. Like I said, we sit on the phone for hours. Um,
Yes.
yeah, sorry about that. Um, I don't know. I think that when I realized that buying and holding rentals could be an option, I just became obsessed, to be honest. I was like, I could travel all around the world and help people. And all I have to do is set up a system, basically, that runs itself.
Yes.
And yeah, you need people that you trust. Yeah, you need know-how. And there's a lot of points of leverage and points where things could go wrong. But you could beat the odds by educating yourself, by connecting yourself strategically. So I started making this plan to have hundreds and hundreds of units for rentals, um, to which we have none, not yet.
Not yet.
And
Working on it.
not yet. We're working on it. Yeah. They say, and this is always encouraging for me, they say that people, when they're making their goals, always overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they almost always underestimate what they can do in 5. So, when I had a goal of however many rentals in 1 year, and here we are a year later and it's 0, I'm like, that's okay. Doesn't mean you failed. Actually, I feel like I've gotten an incredible education in real estate. Um,
It's awesome.
what month are we in? Is it May?
It's May.
Oh
We're
my
in May.
gosh. Last month was a long year. I'm not really sure when I am anymore. It's just gone on
Yeah,
forever.
that was for all of us, it was like a sidestep, from most things.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like we went from March to May, basically.
Yeah, because it's kind of like a sub point that there was an actual 365 days that took place in 1 month. It just happened.
Yeah,
What do you do?
kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Globally and locally, I feel like,
Yeah, for sure.
especially.
Well, what did you do before real estate? I mean, so you're a buyer's agent now, working at Keller Williams.
Yeah.
Um, but what led you to that? Like, what were you doing before? I mean, I don't know. For a lot of people, real estate is a mind shift. It's a career shift. It's everything. So, like,
Yeah.
what did you do before this? I mean,
Oh
directly.
gosh.
You mentioned you did a couple little things here
Odd
and there,
random
but like,
things.
what were you doing right before Keller
Yeah.
Williams?
Well, right before Keller Williams, I was driving a forklift.
Okay.
And that was kind of it. But yeah, no, I was at Amazon, I think, for about 3 or 4 years.
Whoa.
Um, Maybe that sounds terrifying to say out loud.
Yeah.
That might be right. Um, no,
Yikes.
I was in stow, inbound. Yeah, I mean, it was a very simple job. No brain really required. You have
Yeah.
to be able to read a little bit, make sure you match things, but basically take box, scan, make sure it's the same, put on shelf, repeat for 10 hours.
Whoa.
Like that's it. It was very straightforward, very simple. Culture was a little hard, honestly, just among all of the staff. It was full of people who have a problem for every solution. So a lot of complaining, a lot, yeah, and it's not every person across the board by any means, but it was there, and it was a little bit tough. I made some amazing friends, but
I
I have,
definitely know the personality type. I've had my fair share of professional work experience with that human. And I'm sure a lot of you listening to this have also had the same thing.
yeah, it was killing me slowly, man. It
Yeah,
was. I
for sure.
mean, because I'm optimistic and hopeful about the future, and to be
Yeah.
met with that every day. I mean, I would have been okay, I think, in a different time, in a different season, with if I had inserted myself into a narrative. Is the phrase that we've ended up using in our house, because I wasn't a part of the story yet. I wasn't really a part of a community that much out of work, and I didn't feel like I had purpose. So
Mm,
honestly, it just kind of felt a little hollow, and that was painful because I'm very purpose driven in some
yeah.
cases. If I don't have a bigger picture or a vision, like vision gives pain a purpose. So if I don't have a vision, then all of my pain is pointless, and that's hard.
Yes.
So if I'm just sitting there at work and I'm like, well, I'm going to spend this in 2 weeks, this job sucks. Like, there's
Yes.
not a lot of hope there.
Right.
So, if you can get a vision for your life, like, hey, this is where I'm headed, then suddenly pain, oh, this is why. You can walk through your pain. And it's like, because I have a bigger picture of what I want to go toward. And that's kind of what happened with the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. I started hanging out on Bigger Pockets. That is just a massive resource. It's got kind of the A to Z. It's like Facebook for investors plus, you know, like you've got the social networking aspect, you've got webinars, you've got blogs, you've got most everything an investor could want, especially if they're just starting out.
Yep.
And that's how I found out about the investor group. Actually, I was just looking up local people and clicking try and connect. I didn't know what I was doing, and I'm not necessarily very techy, so I was just like, add friend, is that what I'm doing? And it's like, do you want to write a message? I was like, no. And I got a hold of a guy, you might have heard of him, his name's Jeff. Jeff something, I don't know, but he's a cool dude. Anyway, he messaged me back almost immediately, and he said, hey, you're new here, I just wanted to give you some advice. If you don't write a message, people are going to look straight past you and say no. So and he just gave me this download of advice. He's like, hey, here's how the culture works, here's some tips for you. And I'm like, he's gaining nothing from this. Like, he's not benefiting at all from him taking the time out of his day to stop, connect with me, talk, invite me to an investor meetup. I'm like, this is a type of person who actually understands what the word network means, because you always add value before you ask for anything, you know?
Yes.
And I just watched it happen, and I was like, all right. So I started paying attention to him, found him on Facebook, and when he invited me to the investor meetup, I was like, heck yes. I'm totally going to go to this, see if I can chat with this dude. And I don't know if you remember, but like you, me, and a few other people that were there were all like, oh my gosh, it's Jeff.
It's Jeff. We have to
And,
go.
and there's like all these crowds pressing in
Yeah.
around him. Like, oh, wait, he's talking to them. Oh, wait. Oh,
Yeah.
no, they're just drinking
Yeah.
old fashioned. That's fine.
That's
You
right.
know? Yeah. And I was so bummed out because I had to leave before I actually got to talk to him, but it happened later. So that's good.
I'm sure you've had plenty of
Um,
conversations with him since.
Here or there, yeah. It's been good. It's been good. Yeah. So and that's the nice thing about that group, you know that everybody's got to have their own business interests in mind. But there are certain people who are just like, listen, I'm going to add value to you because that'll benefit the community. And eventually I'll be taken care of too because of it. I'm not saying everybody's that way. My gosh, not everybody's that way. But
No,
it's really amazing to see that attitude even exist at all. So that's encouraging for
especially in the
me.
business world, because it can kind of feel a little dog eat dog a little bit, but
Shark, yeah, kind of, yeah,
a little sharky. But honestly, in especially in the residential real estate world, it's very much so investors helping each other.
yeah. I wonder if
Most
it's the
definitely.
case in every city. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wonder if that's across the board, or is this a unique? Is it by pockets? I don't know. I have no idea. But I am encouraged that it exists at all.
I have noticed that in the commercial real estate world, it's not that way, not one bit.
Yeah.
It's very much so. It's a bigger fishbowl, um, but definitely, and maybe it is only in this city. I don't know. You're right. I don't
I,
know.
I hope I hope that it's elsewhere, but I think that's the fun thing. We get to not just invest and make money and change the destiny of our own family tree, like, hey, we're going to be financially free, but we also get to set the tone of a culture around us,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know? And that's
Yep,
pretty cool. That's one of my favorite pastimes is creating culture. So what a weird pastime, right?
it's okay. We're all about weird pastimes here. I mean,
For
hey,
sure.
we set up a little swimming pool outside, like one of those little $5 pools you buy, and we made a saltwater pool in our backyard. Like,
I'm not mad at it.
right?
That's
well,
awesome.
well, tell me something. How many closings have you had since getting your license?
Okay, let's see. I'm going to use my start date as June 17th because that's
Okay.
close. I don't think that's technically when I was licensed. I think I got licensed roundabout there. I just know that's when I quit Amazon and started working at Keller Williams. I think I got licensed right around there. So from that point to the end of the year, I got, oh, 11 closings
Whoa.
or so, I think.
Whoa.
And it's because of last month. I have no idea what my numbers are right now, but I had free closings over the last 4 days. Uh,
Whoa. Are you kidding me?
it's been amazing.
Wow.
Like I thoroughly blame my team for
Yeah.
any amount of success I've had because I have been set up for success. Um, yeah, not acting like I had nothing to do with it. Obviously, you have to put work in and you have to do follow through. Um, but it really is because I'm on Team Monteith that I'm where I am. Like Lori, um, I believe our first conversation said, I would like to give you an opportunity. And that's the right way to say it. It's not, I'm going to make you rich. It's not, it's, I want to give you an opportunity. And I've been doing my best to take it. So I think that the average agent makes their first closing roughly 90 days, 90 to 120 days after they get their license. And that's because it's like getting a freight train to move. You
Yeah.
know, you can't just do it like a jet and just go full force. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
Oh,
takes
yeah.
momentum. And you've got to build it. What you do today, you get paid for in about 90. And that includes lead generation, phone calls, all that stuff. And I somehow got 5 closings in that first 90 to 120 day
Okay.
window.
All right. So I know you're
So
being humble and all, but you got to be doing something right. I mean,
I guess maybe.
I guess maybe you did 5 times. You're doing 5 times as well as the average agent. So I mean, all right. What? Come on. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
I'm paying attention to people smarter than me, which is
There you
most
go.
everyone around me.
There you
So,
go.
so that's really easy. I don't know. I really do think, I mean, agents can still go solo and be
Yeah.
crazy successful. You know, I mean, my gosh, there's a girl who started around the same time as me, and she has blown it out of the water way further than I am, way further than I am. And it's amazing to watch. I'm like, okay,
Wow.
girl,
Yeah.
get it, you go. Um, but for me, like just the way that I'm wired and built, I'm made for community. So it's, you know, I'm like, I'm really happy where I'm at, you know, even with splits and all that stuff. I'm like, I'm real good because right now I'm getting an education and I have a team, you know, so I get to, you know, especially before we had quarantine, I could be in the office and look around and be like, yo, I got a question about this repair proposal. Like, hey, what document is this for Georgia? Oh, hey, how do I, like any question, I could just pop my head out and be like, I got a question. And then, you know, we've got each buyer's agent. We can kind of just, we got a group text, we talk. So I really have access, and that's just inside the team. I mean, Keller Williams is pretty awesome because they started this trend, and for the longest time I thought they were the only one, and I think they're not the only one anymore, but they're the one that seem to have started the idea of a cap. So you have to pay company dollar, but they actually cap on how much per year you pay in, and they do an insane amount of trainings. Like I know diddly squat about pretty much anything. That's the attitude I go into it with. So they have classes. It's like, hey, here's a buyer's boot camp. Here's, you know, listers boot camp. Here's the Tennessee documents, the Georgia documents, the updates for 2020. That they have classes every day that are free for Keller Williams agents. So I get to go in and learn from people way smarter than me, which, like I said, is all of them, especially when it comes to real estate. And when you realize that every single one of them is giving you the exact same advice, you're like, maybe I should listen. I don't know. Because 7 people said the same thing, maybe a little bit different way, but they basically said, if you don't lead generate, you're not going to eat. So probably lead generate like crazy. And I'm like, okay. So just call people, add value. Don't be the pushy salesman. The phrase I loved, my gosh, this helped put words to something that I've always thought was a great idea. Don't get commission on your breath. That one's huge because if you actually build up a good enough pipeline and you have consistent work, you're not worried about your own finances. So I can look at a client and say, this is a terrible idea. Please don't buy this house because it's what's best for you, not what's best for me. And if I have commission on my breath, I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, you should totally buy this house. Like that's a bad idea. I want my client's best
Yes.
interest in mind, not my wallets. So I don't know. They have great little nuggets, and the only thing that sets, I guess, anyone apart is whether or not they'll listen, one, and whether or not they'll apply it, two. Because, you know, you can have good advice all day, but if you don't do it, it doesn't matter. You know, I mean, I know how to work out, but I mean, you know, we're still here, and that's fine. I know how to eat well, but I love candy. We're working on it, John. We're working on it.
All right. Well, okay. So you've given us just a whole lot to kind of unpack. And what I'm hearing is that you are very happy with the knowledge and the community that you have found at Keller Williams.
Yeah.
Um, but where do you get your motivation? I mean, your goal is
Mm,
still owning rentals, which I think should be everyone's goal. But
sure. Yeah.
what, where do you get your motivation for that? Right now,
Man.
today, like right now, what is motivating you to say, because I'll assume if you're like me, you wake up every day and say, all right, what can I do today to make more money, or what can I do today to make more, to get more rentals, or what can I do today to add more value to the people that I care about? You know, it's
Right.
so what is motivating you right now today? What is your answer to?
My big why is several fold, but it is a little bit what I talked about earlier. It's having all of these really close friends who are in need, family, loved ones, close friends who are doing amazing work but so I like to think of it, they have the calling, they have the gift, they have the passion, they just lack the resources, the training, or the structure. And I'm like, I want to help.
Yeah.
So, I have a friend who's living in Indonesia, for example, and he's an incredible man. Him and his wife have been there for a minute, and he's, continually. I mean, he's American, right? So he's learning the language continually. And he's actually doing really well at that. And one thing that they were doing recently was, hey, you know what? The American dollar goes really far over here. There are some strategic things we can do. If we can get people to help us, we can help with testing, we can help with X, Y, Z. He kind of came up with this plan just on his own,
Yeah.
right? And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my bank account and I'm like, dang it. If I had the ability, I would fund the crap out of this guy. Like, because I know the good that he's doing. So for me, it really is just about making the world a better place. Like my mom kind of had this rule, no matter where you're at, you leave it better than you found it. And I kind
Yeah.
of look at the globe that way too.
Yeah.
Um, it really is a passion. And for me, um, it's not just philanthropy. I grew up in and around the church a lot, and maybe in a different way than other people, but missions is really close to my heart as well. And those are the two biggest things for me, to be honest. That's my why. I want people, especially because I know how poor most of those people are. I'm like, and you're doing such good work. And that's the stuff that I want to end up funding. I also want my wife, this is probably the more immediate why. I want her to be able to fulfill her passion, because she's a counselor, basically, right? She's life consulting, life coach, counselor. They're different things, but we all hear them kind of the same.
Yeah.
Um, but she looks at me and she's like, I don't always want to charge somebody. And whether or not she does is up to her. But for her to have the freedom to choose not to, I want to give her that choice. I want her to be able to say, you know what? I want to help this person and them not have to worry about money. Like, it's going to cost them emotional stuff. It's going to cost them time. And if they actually want to put the work in, that's up to them. But I want her to be able to run her business the way she wants without worrying like, oh gosh, we don't have enough money. I'm like, forget it. Run it how you want to. Help people who can't afford anything. Um, and freeing her up to, I mean, genuinely, she comes out of those meetings sometimes skipping like a little kid, just giddy. And I'm like, you come too alive to not do this for the rest of
Yeah.
your life. Like, she's incredible at mentoring. She's incredible at counseling. My gosh, it's really good for me because I get free counseling. Y'all by now know that is needed.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so genuinely, that's my why. I mean, yeah, one day I'd like a Tesla, but I don't care that much right now. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to own kind of a nice house with decent amount of land, but that stuff comes later.
Yeah.
I just and I'm not being disingenuous. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the honest truth. I mean, that
Yeah.
stuff will be nice, and I'm not going to be ashamed when we get there, because that'll be fun. Like, my gosh, I can't wait for that Tesla. That'll be really cool.
Yeah.
But those aren't what drive me. Those are well, technically it will be what drives me, but those are perks. That was a great joke. I'm just gonna
That
savor
was
that for a
funny.
second.
That was a
That was
nice
good.
dad joke there.
I didn't see it coming. Just
Well, man, that is super cool. Um, uh, where can we find you? Where can we find you? Where are you located?
the highway. Well, that's where the office is anyway. So Keller Williams East Brainerd. You can email me at Zach. That's ZACH at teammonteith.com. TEAMMONTIETH, which is so hard for me to do every time. Or my direct phone is 423-260-5301. You can find me on Zillow, probably, if you really wanted to, stuff like that. Y'all are more than welcome to reach out, for sure.
Man, that is cool. So who's your now we know how to find you. Who's your ideal who are you trying to help the most right now?
Mm,
Who do you need? Do you need to connect with new investors trying to find their first deal? Do you need to connect with first-time home buyers? Like, who do you want to connect
Mhm.
with? Who should reach
Yeah,
out to?
majority for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, even though I don't do listings, our team does. So if you're looking to sell, buy, or invest in real estate, whether it's your first deal or your hundredth, we can definitely help you out. I think that for people who are first time investors, there's going to be much more of an educational journey. And especially on the financing side, and I feel like you guys talk about that a lot,
Yeah.
about what options you have, because like Robert Kiyosaki always says, it's not, I can't do that or I can't afford that. It's how can I afford
How can I do that? Yeah, that's
it?
exactly right.
Hmm.
That's
So
what it's
that journey, yeah, and so as far as honestly, anybody looking to get questions about real estate answered, I work most commonly with anyone between first time and last time home buyers. I work with pretty much anybody in there, and that includes investors, especially when they know what their specific strategy is, and if they don't, talk them through, it's more than fine with me. So yeah.
well, that's awesome. Zach, I really appreciate having you on here. This has been great. It's been fun, and you've been incredibly knowledgeable about the um, agent side of things, because I know a lot of people have those questions. Maybe it's your strategy when you're first getting into real estate. Uh, Maybe you learned all you needed to here. I don't know, but it's definitely a way to do it. That's what Crystal did. She got her license. What you did. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
definitely, I really appreciate you having you on here and answering
Yeah.
questions. And
It's been a joy. And listen, if anybody out there is thinking about getting their real estate license and they want to know a little bit more about what the day to day looks like, there are very literal costs associated with it. And, if you guys are curious what it takes to get there, more than happy to have that conversation with y'all as well. You've got my info. And it's not even one of those Keller Williams is the right place for everyone. It might not be. It's about figuring out what the right next step is for everybody.
yep, that's for sure. So if you guys have any more questions about it, reach out to Zach. He will take care of you. And thank you guys for watching.